Thank you for coming to this year's EENA Conference NG112 implementation update. My name is Brooks Shannon, and I come from the United States. I'm with NENA, the 911 Association, otherwise known as the National Emergency Number Association, and it is a deep honor to be able to be here today to moderate this session about NG112. Every year, the EENA Conference brings you the latest status of NG112 deployments by highlighting certain projects that are planned or are in progress across Europe, and where presenters will share their insights and experiences on their respective NG112 journeys. In this session, we'll feature a recently approved project, a work in progress, and a fully deployed NG112 solution with a focus on the benefits perceived or already realized. The presenters here today, I will introduce them quickly. Our first presenter is Vitor Judicibus, who is the head of critical communications multidisciplinary team with the Ministry of Internal Administration in Portugal. Our next presentation will then be from Beat Egger and Gregor Gysi. Beat is a management consultant with Swisscom, and Gregor is the deputy head with Protection and Rescue Zurich in Switzerland. Our last presenter will be Igor Karafilovsky. He is the State Advisor for the State Advisor for Information Technology with the Crisis Management Center in North Macedonia. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it directly over to Vitor so he can tell us a little bit about NG112 in Portugal.
Thank you, Shannon. So, good afternoon to everyone. Thank you very much for attending this presentation. I will share our short experience in the implementation of NG112 in Portugal. So, because we started this very recently, in last January. I start with a short overview of the Portuguese PSAPs and the evolution until now, and then I'll focus my presentation on NG112, which is the theme of this presentation. So, Portugal is the westernmost country of mainland Europe. We have, with more than 10 million residents, our territory includes mainland Portugal and also the islands of Madeira and Azores. 112 is the only emergency call number in Portugal. We accept seamless calls. We have 4-stage PSAPs, one in Porto, one in Lisbon, and one in Azores and Madeira. And the average answering time needed to get in contact with the emergency service in Portugal is around 6 seconds. The 112 service is under the umbrella of the Ministry of Internal Administration. It's a shared responsibility with the police that have the operations and human resource responsibility, and the General Secretariat of Internal Administration, which is responsible for infrastructure, logistics, and information and telecommunications technologies. So I work in the green part of this slide. The call-taking model is adopted in Portugal is a standard call-taking with the first stage PSAP. We receive all the calls in these 4 PSAPs, and the interview is made in these first stage PSAPs, and the data is then dispatched to the second stage PSAPs. Voice is only sent to the ambulance service. For the other second stage PSAPs, we only send the data. The ecosystem of 112, so 112 is interacting with 8 agencies: National Guard, the police, the ambulance service, the Maritime Authority, and 4 agencies related to civil protection, like the fire department, professional fire department, and other areas of civil protection. the evolutionary strategy of Portugal. So in 2019, we had around 18 PSAPs in our country. We started the consolidation process and we shut down all those 18 PSAPs. And today we have 4, as I showed. Yes, we have 4 real robust PSAPs. Then in 2019, we implemented also ECOL throughout the territory. And we sorted out a series of problems like the ghost calls and the 15-digit issue. In 2019, we launched an app for deaf people with video and chat with no pre-registration, so it's an open app. And in 2020, we finished the integration of the PSAPs in the Açores and Madeira, so we now have one solution for all the PSAPs. For all the 4 PSAPs, they work in the same solution. And the AML implementation happened also in 2020, and in 2022, we have implemented SIP before, first with a proof of concept, and now it is working there already. So now focusing exclusively on the theme of this presentation. What were the drivers to give a step forward in order to deploy NG112? In fact, we started to look to NG112 as a possibility in Portugal after the directive, the European Electronic Communications Code that was published in 2018. It was for us the trigger to start thinking of NG112. The NG112 is a standardized architecture that is in compliance with the contents of the EU Electronic Communications Code. This intention was then reinforced in 2019 after the publication of the ETSI standard in December 2019. The other drivers were opting for a standard because we relied on a proprietary solution. Be prepared to receive the PDI flow, which is mandatory in NG112. Be future-proof. The timing was also right because we had to launch a tender until the end of 2022 because the contract that we had finished in December 2022. And we would also be able, at that time, to get funding from the EU if we choose an innovative project for 112 with the Recover and Resilience Plan, the European Recover and Resilience Plan. What can I say about this part? The standardized architecture. We believe that standards allow a better comparison between solutions proposed by the bidders. And we think that opt for a standard can strongly ensure a comparison as impartial, as balanced as possible for the bids. Thus not limiting the principle of competition between bidders. The technology is supported by standards, in our opinion, were as you know, developed by experts in the area, supported they provide greater confidence for the implementation of this kind of solutions, offering assurance that they are of high quality, secure, and fit for the purpose. So that's another reason to opt for a standard. And we also believe that standards also guarantees a stable technological base. And we believe that in the future, we will have an ecosystem around NG112 that will be easier to incorporate new features in the technologic architecture. So the other advantages of NG112 are the introduction, as you know, of multimedia communications in the centers that we already have. In fact, we already have videos, I said, but this we will rely on a standard. It will be easier to do that. The reception per section of college geographic coordinates for 4G and 5G, and optimize the communication and distribute the emergency calls between the PSAPs. And also, it will be easier to be interconnected with the other countries, mainly in the border countries of Portugal, which is Spain for now. The steps to NG112, as I said, we started in December 2019. Was published the NG112 as a standard, and in 2020 we start talking with MNOs to discontinue ISDN and advance with SIP communications. And we also start talking with the communications regulator because they have to review all the legislative framework because it was focused on ISDN and not in SIP. And in 2022, in February 2022, we launched an RFI to see what was the market offer in terms of NG112 solutions and to define the ball price of the project. And then in August, we launched the tender, an international tender, to choose a solution. The tender was not rocket science because what we did in the tender, and you have here two of the requirements that are in the tender, was just saying that the solution should implement the core elements of when NG112, and that the solution to implement should be redundant and should have a redundant and high availability EasyNet, locally and geographically. In the two centers, north and south, implementing the core functionality that are in the tender. There are other small requirements, but these are the main ones, and I will be happy to provide you the other if you want. There's no secrets about it.
We have 2 minutes.
Okay. So the challenge to adoption where SIP is mandatory, security is granted by the NOC and SOC of the Ministry of Internal Administration, and we have to need to update the legislative framework and fund the complexity because we have the EU funding and the state budget to finance this project. This is the solution that we have now working. And we want to reach this new architecture, and you see there the core elements of the EasyNet and ISDN, which I hope that in this phase will disappear. We will have in 2025 already ISDN. So this is the project plan with the development. That's where we are now. The installation in productive environment, and there we'll have 3 years of maintenance until 2027. Total cost and financial sources, where the total cost of the project is 11.5 million. The investment is 5.5 million, which is from the source of is the recuperation and resilience plan. And the maintenance is provided by the state budget. So these are the recommendations that we have. So I will be fast in this. So understanding as much as you can about NG112, because we are all learning. This is very recent, and the industry is learning too. Be focused in realistic goals, concentrate in your real needs, beware of pitfalls, and there are some pitfalls in this, of course, in this kind of projects, and ask as much as you need to understand the potentials of the new architecture. And I reached the question part.
That's perfect.
If there is time.
Yes, there is, in fact. So we have about 3 minutes for any questions that folks may have in the audience. Yes. Yeah, can we get a microphone? Yeah, someone's going to bring you a microphone. Yep. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Vitor. So Antoine from EENA Group in France. My question is that we understand that you are building a strong solution in Portugal to solve this reception of enhanced 112. Do you think that this technical platform could be open to other kind of emergency data messages, like for private equal, for example, as you know that we are providing this kind of service? So you are building a strong architecture. Will it be only dedicated to one single specific workflow? And do you think it could be something that could be more open and interoperable to other services?
Yes. I think that this solution will is that interaction. But in fact, we usually like to rely on standards, and in fact, we don't have a standard to interact with third-party services. And that's the main problem. I think that when we reach that point, maybe an European standard to do that, we'll be open to receive a connection, to receive data and voice eventually from third-party services. But this is a new opportunity for that to happen.
Excellent. I think we may have time for one more quick question if anybody in the audience has a brief question. Okay, well, thank you so much. I think next up we will hear from B8, and also Gregor will be up shortly as well to talk about Switzerland.
I try to speed up a little bit. It's a honor for me and Gregor to show you how Switzerland implemented NG112. But first, we have some, perhaps some numbers from Switzerland. So we have 8.6 billion people, 4 languages, 5 countries bordered, and 54 public safety answering points. And the challenging topology with high mountains, deep valleys, and so on. But how we did that? So first of all, we worked together. That means the regulator, the PSAPs, and telecommunication work really strongly together. Otherwise, it's not possible to solve such a solution. So we already looked at all cases end-to-end. That means from the device towards the GIS of the PSAP. And we were always aware that without location, no routing is possible and the PSAP lacks information. So everything has to be compliant with the standards, of course. Everything? No, because the access net provider are not regulated in Switzerland. So we had to find another solution. That means we build up a solution with a centralized list and submit the ID of a centralized list towards to HCMTEL as well. The routing we're doing still, taking still place on basis of reliable network-based locations. That means we do it either on cell on the end of the cable. Of course, like you do that as well. We have now introduced device-based location with AML and eCall. the data from AML and eCall are received by the voice service provider, not on the PSAP side. We do it on the voice service provider centrally as well, and write the data in the centralized list, to the centralized list. So that's the architecture, how it looks like. It's very abstract, but I think you can see how that works. The device sends their data inbound or via SMS or via SIP towards the voice service provider. The voice service provider writes the device-based and the network-based location together in the list and route the emergency call via interconnection to the correct PSAP. The PSAP obtains then the location from the list via the list proxy. And because of AML, the PSAP have to read the data out of the list proxy or the list every 10 seconds. So the status of the project at the moment is we have 80% of the mobile devices today transmit AML. The fixed net operators will migrate it this year till end of the year. The voice service providers can send the location by reference in the SIP invite via interconnection towards to the PSAPs. And the emergency call routed from the interconnection to the PSAP's PBX. The SIP invite information is sending from the PBX towards to the operation center system, which obtains the location via SIP proxy we saw as before. 18 of 54 PSAPs benefit at the moment from AML, eCall, the net-based location from the centralized list. But that's all theory, so I give the words to Greggy. He shows you the practice.
So, yeah, if you have new possibilities as a PSAP, you have to get out also some benefits of it. And that's exactly what I want to explain you a little bit in the next minutes, and also how we did it in Switzerland and what we got out of it. So first, what you see here is some figures on the region we are responsible for. The emergency calls is the 144, our ambulance emergency call number for the marked region, and for fire 118, and the civil protection, it's a smaller part, it's only the canton of Zurich. But as you can see here, with around 1.9 million people, we take the calls of, and in total around 350,000 calls a year. We are one of the bigger PSAP in Switzerland, one of those 55. What I can say here is we are a good PSAP to test, to also provide others with our experience, because from the city of Zurich up to ski areas in the mountains, we cover the whole region, and so we do a lot of experience in a short time. And since we were one of the first PSAP that onboarded that list proxy in the middle of last year, we got also out a lot of experience, and that we share with our partners. So I wrote here plugin NG112, and that's because, yeah, it's plugin, that list proxy. And if you have the SIP to the desk or not on your PSAP, you can also take part in the whole system and add the information that is on the list proxy. So what made it so easy for us, at least, to do it? It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work in preparation of the whole system that Beat showed you. But for us at PSAP, it's mainly a new interface we have to implement. We have clear national regulations that helps to plan it, because sometimes we have to manage or to plan our funds 2 to 3 years in advance, and if we have regulations, we know why. We had an excellent interface description, a stable interface description. We were able to test all the parts, and so we can get onto the system in short time. It's an evolution of existing concepts we had in Switzerland as well, and we had, from the time we had the new interface, we had the extended data, the AML, and the eCall. So that's a good motivation for all of us PSAPs to add that, because we have to until the end of that year. That's also a regulation we have to follow. So I said it before, it's a lot of work, and I think two interesting parts we have here is the cooperation between all the disciplines, ambulance, fire brigade, and police in advance, also in contact with the providers and the regulator. And we had always hard discussions sometimes, but we had always an exchange at eye level to get into that whole system. And I can show you now an example here, how it's presented at the desk. For all of you using AML the whole day, yeah, it's nothing really new. For the others, I wish you can implement it as quick as possible. It's a really good thing. And what we see here is a forest accident. A person was lying under a felled tree, and we see the yellow marker, that's the AML, and that was exactly the position where it was. The blue circle we have here is the net-based location, also presented on our screen, and it helps us to zoom at that position very quickly, because the net-based location we have from the start of the call, and AML comes 3 to 5 seconds later. So we can start the call without lose some time, and we are on the right place on the map. We are really quick in the verification of the location, and we can dispatch the teams on the right place. Second example we have here is also the yellow circle is the AML, and we see also how exact the position is delivered from the device. It's a car accident on a mountain pass, and you can imagine with only the net-based location, yeah, we had some discussions on the phone to get the right place that we can dispatch the people to the right place. So it helps also on that case, and we have a good combination of both those location providers. So, yeah, every good position saves important seconds and lives at the end. And what I can say is it's a big help in rural areas, because if someone tells us an address and the yellow point is near that address, I can be sure that we are at that address. So it's like a victory, we can say there. And what we also see below is it works also in big parties. That's an image from the street parade, 1 million people partying around the lake in Zurich. It works also in that situations. For us, it's good because it's automatic and free for every emergency call. Yeah, we have no app or other installation. It works also for people visiting another part in Switzerland. And it supports the interoperability between the PSAPs, because eCall 112, for example, is managed by the police in Switzerland. And so if they get an accident in and they have to get us to help as ambulance service, they can electronically push the whole information of the event towards us. We need only the reference to the location, can pull it on the server and can get all the data in, and so we know also all details of that e-call. So that's a big plus for us, and also a big benefit of the centralized list. So yeah, Sometimes it has to go further, and if I had a free wish, some points that are important to us if we go further on with all that system. We need accurate positions, that's clear. Then the next big part for us will be services for people with special needs. There we'll see once more that it's not only a technical part, it's a part that we have to go from end to end with all the processes in between, and then the technical part is more or less only the enabler. And what for us is important is also the interoperability between all the PSAPs in Switzerland, because with that many PSAPs, we often have to pass the information between one or two of us. And also the compliance with international standards, that tourists visiting Switzerland get the same service as all others, and we can serve and help. Yeah, some information if you want to contact me later on or talk with me when trolling around in the next time. And for me, that's the main part that makes all of it at the end. The easier an emergency call works, the less I have to install on my phone, the quicker we are, and at the end, it's about seconds and it's about people. Thank you, and back to you.
Thanks. So we spoke about centralized services. So the advantages of the centralized services are these ones. So please read by yourself. But I think the important one is that what Gregor says, when we write information in the list, the called PSAP can get this information and another one as well. So that's a big advantage. So I think you wrote it. Switzerland does not have an EasyNet, but why? Not all voice technologies are SIP at the moment, you know it. 2G, 3G is CS-based. Not all voice service providers are connected to the SIP interconnection, so that will be a long way to have an EasyNet on every country. The existing routing must be migrated from number-based to URN-based, and a standard routing server have to be implemented. Therefore, we have responsibilities that are unclear in Switzerland, and that's a subject of political discussions at the moment. The challenges we faced.
And we have 2 minutes left.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
The challenges we faced was the definition and understand of the exact PSAP requirements was not that easy. It looked at the end, you saw it looked very easy, but to understand for telecommunication was not that easy. I take one out as well. To develop a document for the voice service provider and for the PSAPs and their suppliers, that they can read a paper, one paper for all the standards were implemented. It's not that easy, but it's needed. And we made as well one a file for the supplier that they can implement that for the XML stuff. That makes the life quite easier. So I think that's the important one. Thank you, and thank Gregor for your time, and thank you.
Thank you. So before Igor goes up and talks about North Macedonia, I think we have time for probably 2 or 3 questions. Is there anyone in the audience that has questions for Viet and Gregor? If not, I have a few. Oh, there's one back here? Okay.
So are there any activities going on between the countries to do a European forest guide to interconnect or be able to cross-connect across the borders?
Sorry, again.
You know, the EENA seem to be going on within the countries themselves. Is there any effort going on to do a forest guide that would interconnect the countries in Europe?
Yeah, but not on my side. It's a task of MTEL, I think, isn't it?
That is certainly something I'm very curious about too, Walt. So that would be an interesting topic of discussion.
Sounds good, thanks. I just wanted to see what's going on here.
Oh,
thanks.
Absolutely, yeah. Are there any other questions in the audience? All right, well, I have a question that I would ask. Of the various challenges that you faced, what were the biggest challenges you saw in implementing a centralized LIS?
Yeah, as I said, the definition of the interface, I think it was the greatest challenge because we have a lot of standards where are implemented. It's standards from ITOT, from ETSI, from DIN, and so on. And it have to be future-proofed. So we had to keep care that we can develop an interface that understood at the end as well NG, eCall, and AML at ZIP, and things like that.
Mm-hmm. It's an admirable thing that you did, yeah. So very curious about that. If there's no other questions from the audience, I have one last question that I'll ask you, and then we'll move on to yours. Last but not least, I noticed in your architecture diagram that you do not pass location by reference to the PSAPs. It's location by value. I think I know the answer to this, but how do the PSAPs obtain updated location? So imagine someone's moving, you know, they call from a vehicle or something. How do they obtain location updates?
Yeah, we are polling the information, so we all know that's not the best way to get on an interface, but it's an easy way, and in the part we are at the moment, it's a good possibility for us to get eCall data if it was coming in on another PSAP, and it's also a good way for us to poll for information, also to get the updates during a call.
And we're working hard that we can support location by reference at next year.
That's excellent, thank you. So I will turn the floor over to you, Igor.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry maybe about my voice, but before 1 month I have some disease with my voice, and sorry for problems which I have now. And finally, 1 year in North Macedonia is operating 112. We start very long time, before a very long time. Maybe first study was done in 2009, but the time being the technologies change everything, and finally we start and we implement the purely new generation 112 system, which is completely IP based. But before that, short about North Macedonia. This is our size, population with the last census, and the numbers, the people which is living in urban and rural areas. And it was very interesting when I see the money for implementation of 112 from the Portugal. It's very impressive numbers of the amount of money which you dedicated for 112. I can share that we implement 112 in our country only for 1.26 million euro. It was actually tender procurement by delegation and win the lowest quotation which we get. What I will speak about it's our time steps, how we activate 112 and 112 centers. Some statistics which we get till from this 1 year for operation, and how and when we will transfer another PSAPs number to 112 system, because our intention is to have only one number for emergency management. Now we still have 112, 192, 193, and 195, which is previously for Crisis Management Center. We already migrate to 112. Location services, all challenges. E-call service, I must tell that in our country, we are not obliged to implement e-call because we are not European member. But on a voluntary basis, we implement e-call. We are still missing few brands of cars dealers, which because there is not mandatory, they are not delivering the vehicles with the e-call modem. What we will do, what is the next steps we want to do, because we apply for the second phase and we get money from European delegation for IPA 3 for the next steps, the things we need to improve, and which lessons we learned with the implementation of the project. This is shortly how we go and how we start with implementation. On the one day, in 11th of February 2022, we put in use 112 in our country. On this date, we only activated on the city, capital city in the North Macedonia, in Skopje region. But from 1st of March, we activated to all country. And now, from everywhere, when you dial 112, you will get the 112 center. After that, step by step, we activated to get one by one, because we have one state center, which is in Skopje, and 7 other centers, which is per regions in our country. Tetovo and Bitola in February. After that, Ohrid, Štipen, Strumica, and Veles in November. Kumanovo is still pending. These days should be activated because there was a huge reconstruction of the building where will be 112 centers will be placed. And now the co-takers and the people who will work in this operational center in Kumanovo is working in Skopje State National Center, and the calls is redirecting in State National Center. Also, we activated location information from fixed lines with telecom operators, A1 and Telecom Macedonia in August, with VPNs, and when somebody calls from fixed lines, we send a request to the telecom operators and they get back the address from their databases. After that, we start with implementation IML with Google phones, and actually we started in October 2022. In January 2023, we test with Apple IML, but actually was activated this month with the latest update 16.4, which was raised by Apple. And with this, we also have IML location services with Apple. eCall officially we start in December. After that, we solve interconnecting with Ministry of November and Ministry of Interior for AVL. Also, we put in function Tetra functionalities with Tetra terminals with fire brigades, and this was connected actually finally in January this year. This is short statistic. We can see down how much calls we received in 1 year. It's actually 400,000, more than 400,000 or 500,000 calls. And here is need to mention that we have very big rate of seamless call. And this is an issue which we are facing in the first year of functioning the 112. It's very strange, but mainly the biggest, it's a maybe problem, I don't know, is that when somebody brings telephone, it's broken, and he brings to some fixing mobile shop, first what they are doing, calling 112 to see if the phone is okay or not. Believe me, this is the issue. Yeah, this is very strange. Now we plan, what we do before 1 month is that kind of calls we are keeping in the PBX 7 seconds. And if somebody really needs help, then the call is continuing and it's answered by the call taker. If call is not really needed, then the call is dropped, and we have some progress with this. The number is a little bit lower than this, but we still need to think how to solve this issue with the seamless call. It was very funny, but we also want, or we are thinking in a way to have some campaign as a raising awareness that not to do this when you are fixing your phone, or maybe to go further, to see that if you call from for the testing your phone, we have your location, we will come to told you that this is not okay, maybe in this time, in this period, really somebody needs help, and you are keeping the line, and etc., etc. But until now, only we keep the call 7 seconds in the PBX, and after that, if it's needed, the call taker is answering. But also, from this amount of the seamless calls, more of the calls is really needed help. Actually, the number of these calls also is, and if some users is in area which is not covered but own a mobile operator, then call is the telephone is connected with another operator, which we call local roaming, and 112 call must be finished to the 111 center. We have one old organizational structure for emergency management in Macedonia. We have 4 numbers as previously assessed. Police is 192, Fire Department is 193, Ministry of Health 194, Crisis Management, actually, which I'm coming from, and now we are implementing 112. We are governmental body. We are not under no ministries. And now 112 is in Crisis Management Center. What we do, 195, because was our number, we transferred to 112. We made queues for this number, just to have statistics. If somebody is still dialing 192 or 195 or 192, here is very strange situation that from the beginning of the implementation of the project, police says, no, we will not, we don't want you to manage our calls. First, call taking, you just redirect the calls for 192. We said, okay, don't want to make troubles, no problem. And original architecture was that all calls to be firstly taken by call takers for 112, but now police see that system is in function, and it functions very well. In the meantime, we installed computers, telephones, everything with 112. They have their telephones and computers from their old system. I think so on Lotus platform. And when they see that the 112 is working, they say, okay, now we want to move to 112. And we are now in phase 2, migrating probably this month or beginning of next month, 192 to 112. With starting 112, we have another maybe situation that all these fake calls, all these calls which was not for help, now is selected and received by 112. Another numbers now is somehow relaxed. And our intention is also, maybe this month and next month, to migrate also 193 and 194, but only for Skopje region. Why? Because police has one central system, and actually we we provide equipment with 112 for all regions. We have also same same structure like crisis management center with 7 regions and 1 state center. But the emergency management in fire brigades, they don't have a centralized system. Skopje is one, for example, Vitor is another, Štip is third one. Yes?
2 minutes left.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I need to go fast. Sorry. That's why now we are doing this manually. If some call is from, example, Ohrid, our call taker directly make call back to the needed help. Location services, as I mentioned, we activated. With Google also, I forgot to mention that we activated and location services for sending SMS to 112, not only for the calls. We solve all these issues. We accept one challenge which is actually discussed and agreed on the last conference in Marseille with Apple. And one telecom operators accept this challenge to implement SIP-based location services with Apple and with Telecom. And I'm hoping that Telecom will be ready next week. They need to activate voice over LTE emergency services for emergency services. And we will start with implementing and testing these SIP-based location services. eCall, as I mentioned, we don't have legal platform to implement, but on voluntary basis, we implement it and it's in function. There is also many interesting things that first eCall, when we received from one car, the driver was not aware that that is in function, and he don't know, the call taker is 112, how I can help you. He was confused, don't know who is calling from where and offering him help. Next steps, as I previously said, that we apply and we get the money. We want to improve hardware in way of redundancy and security. We want to provide application for 112 with better geolocation, and also for people with disabilities, because we now don't have this. Silent call also is very important. New geolocation services. And first responder mobile tool, evolution of radio equipment, and full integration with mission critical communication, radio communication network. What we learned, this is some things which we learned, and also with the police was very good approach that, okay, you will work as you wish, but after that they see that the system is in function, then they says, we want to go in 112. And our intention, as previously I said, is to be unique and only one number for emergency management in our country. Sorry, the last 2-3 slides I go a little bit faster, and thank you very much. Some question if somebody has.
Thank you, Igor. I think we may have time for 1 or 2 questions from the audience, if anybody has any questions for Igor's. If not, I have one. The one that I would like to ask is, you listed a number of objectives for your second phase.
Yes.
Are there other things that are on the further horizon past that second phase that are interesting or goals for you?
Yes. As I said, the second phase, we also need to include and to place calls directly to the another PSAPs like emergency management in another cities and fire brigades in another cities, because now we are doing somehow manually, not automatically. We want to provide equipment for all this to connect to our system. With this, we automatically need to upgrade of the hardware because we will serve more clients, more PSAPs. Also, maybe the most important is that now we don't have application for deaf for people with disabilities to have these opportunities to have these things on 112. And to make improvements in geolocation, maybe, as I mentioned, to implement SIP-based location services, etc., etc. We have many things to, we want many things to do, but let's see, we will start probably with 2025 with implementation, because money was granted for 2024 to start with consultancy services.
Sure, that makes sense. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking us through your journey in North Macedonia. Thank you.
Thank you also.